The case that forever shattered the trust between the American consumer and the American corporation began with the most mundane of complaints: a child's sore throat. It was late on the morning of September 29, 1982, in the quiet suburb of Elk Grove Village, Chicago, and Mary Kellerman, just 12 years old, felt unwell. Her parents, Frank and Jeannie, wanting to soothe her symptoms, gave their daughter an extra-strength Tylenol capsule, the brand trusted across the nation as the safest, most reliable pain reliever. The tragedy that followed was instant and horrific. Mary collapsed within minutes, rushed to the hospital, and was pronounced dead. The initial, confusing finding was a massive, sudden brain hemorrhage, a devastating twist of fate for a young girl. But this was not fate. It was the first, chilling stroke of an unknown murderer's plan. The nightmare was only beginning. Hours later, across town in Arlington Heights, a 27-year-old postal worker and devoted father named Adam Janus woke up feeling achy and unwell. He took an extra-strength Tylenol and, like Mary, collapsed. He died shortly after reaching the emergency room. In a heartbreaking twist of cruel chance, Adam's brother and sister-in-law, Stanley and Teresa Janus, arrived at the home to grieve their sudden, terrible loss. Overcome with stress and headache, they took pills from the very same bottle Adam had used. They, too, were struck down almost instantly. Stanley died that day. Teresa, 2 days later. In the space of 48 hours, a single, close-knit family had been nearly extinguished by a routine attempt to soothe their pain. The unusual, violent nature of these deaths, all healthy people suffering massive internal distress and sudden collapse, finally raised a red flag for the medical examiner's office, run by Dr. Edmund Donoghue. He and his colleagues, looking at the peculiar medical profile, started to suspect a common external agent. A local nurse, Helen Jensen, was the first to connect the dots to toxicology, whispering a name that instantly turned local tragedy into national terror: cyanide. The testing that followed produced the most shocking discovery in the history of consumer products. The extra-strength Tylenol capsules, the ones found in the homes of the victims, were not just contaminated. They were meticulously laced with lethal doses of potassium cyanide, a fast-acting poison that kills by blocking the body's cells from utilizing oxygen, effectively suffocating the victim from the inside out. The symptoms, the crushing headache, dizziness, and rapid collapse, were the body's agonizing reaction to oxygen deprivation. The investigation now raced against a phantom killer who had deployed a weapon of mass retail terror. The fear was compounded as more victims were identified, all consuming the same poisoned product. Mary McFarland, a 31-year-old mother who had just returned to work at a telephone company, and Mary Reiner, a 27-year-old mother, both succumbed after taking Tylenol. The last known victim was 35-year-old United Airlines flight attendant Paula Prince, who purchased a contaminated bottle from a Walgreens on her way home to her Chicago apartment. She was found dead 2 days later, the deadly bottle sitting innocently nearby. 7 lives were taken across the Chicago metropolitan area, all linked by a common, trusted brand. The realization that the killer was not targeting a specific person, but rather an entire product line aiming at random consumers, sent a wave of paralyzing fear across the country. The authorities and Johnson & Johnson immediately initiated a sweeping, urgent response. Police cars blared warnings through the streets, and the media saturated the airwaves, telling the public to throw away every Tylenol capsule in their homes. Johnson & Johnson, under CEO James Burke, made the courageous and unprecedented decision to announce a massive recall of 31 million bottles nationwide, halting all production and advertising. The total cost reached over $100 million, but the swift, decisive action cemented the company's reputation as a model of corporate ethics, choosing public safety over profit. The manhunt for the Tylenol killer was unlike any other. The FBI, FDA, and local police quickly concluded that the contamination did not happen at the factory, as the tainted bottles came from multiple manufacturing batches. The killer was a retail terrorist, someone who had purchased the bottles, meticulously opened the gelatin capsules, replaced the acetaminophen with pure cyanide, and then returned the tampered packages to the store shelves in different Chicago area locations. The crime was an act of premeditated, impersonal malice. The focus initially shifted when an extortion letter arrived at J&J headquarters, demanding $1 million to stop the killings. The letter writer claimed responsibility for the poisoning, offering a formula for a non-fatal compound as a bizarre gesture. The extortionist was identified as James W. Lewis, a deeply troubled New Yorker with a history of fraud. Lewis was arrested and convicted of extortion for sending the letter. He was a perfect villain, brilliant, manipulative, and clearly possessing the technical knowledge to carry out the crime. Yet, a fatal flaw persisted in the case against Lewis: the physical evidence. Despite Lewis describing how the crime could have been committed, investigators could never find any definitive, hard link. No fingerprints on the bottles, no traces of the specific cyanide, no concrete evidence of him being in the retail locations where the tainted bottles were placed. Lewis vehemently denied committing the murders, claiming he only exploited the tragedy for financial gain. The evidence was strong enough for extortion, but not for murder. Lewis served 13 years for his crime, but the identity of the Tylenol killer remained officially unknown. The investigation continued for decades, pursuing other leads, including local suspects like Roger Arnold, a disgruntled supermarket employee who showed extreme interest in the case and had access to cyanide. But Arnold, too, was cleared of the Tylenol murders due to insufficient evidence. The case was formally reopened in 2009, with new DNA technology allowing investigators to test latent residue on the original bottles, even leading to a renewed search warrant at Lewis's home. But even this modern push failed to bring forward public charges. When James Lewis died in 2023, he took whatever secret he held about the crime to the grave, leaving the families of the victims in eternal limbo. The enduring silence of the killer is a profound tragedy, but the legacy of the Chicago Tylenol murders is the complete and total redesign of consumer safety. Before 1982, buying medicine was simple. After the panic, J&J pioneered triple-sealed packaging: the glued outer box, the plastic neck seal, and the aluminum foil over the bottle mouth. This quickly became the industry standard. In 1983, Congress passed the Federal Anti-Tampering Act, making product tampering a federal crime. Every single tamper-proof seal you break today is a permanent, physical memorial to Mary Kellerman and the 6 others who lost their lives. Their deaths forced a tectonic shift in consumer protection, preventing countless future crimes. But the ultimate mystery remains. Who was the ghost who walked into the Chicago suburbs and shattered the most fundamental trust of modern life? Tell me what you think below in the comment section about the Tylenol murders. As usual, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far. See you in the next video, sleuth.